All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this topical workshop webinar. My name is David Verbruggen. I'm going to be your host today. I'm excited about this one, guys. We're going to be talking about 5 habits of professional traders. Okay, so we've got several objectives that we're looking for here, right? Because as traders, we want to be structured, productive, efficient, and profitable. Right? We want to be able to reach our goals faster. And in order to do so, we need to have certain habits in place, certain things that the pros do. So, we want to go ahead and mimic the pros as best as possible. And so we want to talk about several things that they do in this webinar here and see how we can do those as well. So for this webinar, I don't want to, just talk at you. Don't just sit there and listen. I want you to write things down, plan things, put things in your calendar, and actually do some of the things that we're talking about here. We're gonna do some action steps at the end, and throughout this webinar, you can be writing down some action steps that maybe you can do as well. So let's go ahead and it's gonna be a little weird. We haven't done this before, right? But just in case you haven't grabbed a pen and paper, or you don't have, a notepad up on your computer or whatever, let's just take 30 seconds. I'm just going to sit here for 30 seconds. I'm going to give you time right now to go grab something to write down with. Grab pen and paper, open up a notepad, go. All right, that was probably right around 30 seconds, probably enough awkward silence right there for all of you guys that were ready. I just wanted to kind of remove the excuses, if you will. And, I wanted everyone to have something that they could go ahead and write something down with. All right, another thing too, maybe you're listening today and you're driving or you're at work or something like that. You don't really have the ability to write things out, and that's okay. If you're in that position, just commit to rewatching this webinar if needed. This is being recorded. Actually, this is a good time to double check that. Missy, you can double check too. I do believe I see a recording thing. So this is being recorded, and so you will be able to get this webinar emailed to you as well. All right, let's jump right in here. The first big one that I want to talk about, first big trading habit, is having a trading routine. Okay, a consistent routine is crucial to consistent results. If your approach to trading is not routine, then your results will not be consistent. I mean, this kind of makes sense, right? You guys know, a lot of you know that my background was in aviation, and we talk about a good landing starts with a good approach. Okay, so if your approach to the market is bad, then you would expect that your results wouldn't be what you want them to be either. So we want to have something consistent, a nice consistent routine that we're going to go through. So what does a consistent routine look like? We're going to go ahead and look at an example here. And there's a whole bunch of different examples that could be given. I'm just going to give you one and show you kind of how I look at a consistent routine. And of course, you could adapt yours to be similar, or yours might be quite different just depending on your circumstances. But here's an example of a consistent routine. First thing, we would want to do our homework the evening before, right? We don't want to jump into the market day and just go for it. Just see what's out there and see what we like, and then trade that. No, we want to kind of have an idea of what we're looking for. So we want to do our homework the night before. So what does that look like? For me, I like to start by looking at the S&P. Why? I want to know which direction is the market going. What is the big picture? Am I supposed to be looking for something bullish or bearish, or maybe neutral? Or are things crazy, and maybe for my skill level or whatever, I should be staying in cash? Which direction is going to give me the best edge? So that's the first thing I want to consider. Then I'm going to be pulling up watch lists. And this could be a David Mitchell watch list that has already been vetted for fundamentals, and those are available in Charts by TRADEway. It could be a scan that you have preset. The point is you're going to be going through, you're going to do your homework, look at your S&P, then pull up your watch list, and then make that watch list smaller essentially as to what you're looking for that next day. You can move things over to a trigger watch list if you want. You also want to have a really good idea of what you're looking for technically. Okay, well, what do I mean by that? Okay, what if we're looking for pretty uptrends where the price action is retracing, kind of flagging down, if you will, bouncing up off of support to overtake the previous day's candle. And maybe we're looking at for the 10-day EMA to be above the 20-day and the 20-day to be above the 50-day. That's very specific, right? We're talking about a pretty uptrend that has pulled back and has just bounced off of support, overtaken the previous candle with bullishly stacked EMAs. So we know exactly what we're looking for. Then we want to maybe check the fundamentals. So the David Mitchell watch lists already have done this for you. You can also do something as simple as making sure that the fundamentals box on Charts by TRADEway is green, or maybe at least yellow. So there are several different ways that we can go ahead, go through that. And like I mentioned before here, you can add the good looking stocks to another watch list. So maybe you have your full, David Mitchell watch list, and the ones that are really pretty and you're really liking, you move that to a trigger watch list or something you're going to be watching the next day. So that's just the homework right there, and then we're going to set alerts on those and see what comes up the next day, because you're going to want alerts to help keep track of all of these. You might have 20 different tickers that you're looking at for the next day. That's going to be hard to keep track of, but you're going to want to set alerts to look at that. Now, that was just the homework. That's just the day before, right? So what are we going to do during the trading day? Check the S&P again. We want to make sure that things are still looking how we thought they were. We might look at the S&P the next morning and see this massive gap down, and things are going kind of crazy, and that might be the end of our trading day right there, because any trade that we are looking to take it's just not going to work that day, and that's okay. That kind of thing happens. But let's say things are working right, that pretty uptrend pattern is still working, or maybe you're looking to the downside, whatever the case may be, then keep an eye on your trigger watch list. And of course, this is where your alerts help with that as well. And then you're going to enter trades as your plan dictates. Okay. Remember, if you have something very specific you're looking for technically, then once that situation appears, go ahead and take that trade. And then you want to go ahead and document the trades that you enter as well. We're going to be talking a bit about this one right here. By documenting the trades, what I'm really getting at is journaling your trades, having a trade journal. We're going to talk about several different ways, including how Charts by TRADEway can help you with this as well. All right, so we talked about, within our trading routine, what does it look like to do our homework the night before? And now what does it look like during the trading day? What are we going to do? Let's say we take that trade. What are we going to do while we're in the trade? This is all as part of the routine. Simply, we're going to manage trades according to our pre-specified plan, right? So we got to have a plan before we enter the trade. And if we have that plan, then we just got to follow the plan, right? You guys heard of this before. Plan the trade, trade the plan. That's the only point while in the trade, is just follow the plan that you've created, because you've done all your homework before. You've looked at things during the day. There's not a whole lot left to do except for just follow the plan that you already have set. Now, when it's time to exit the trade, we're just going to exit the trade again based off the plan. This is part of plan the trade, trade the plan. And then once we have exited, we're going to, again, document the results of this trade. And so, again, we're going to be talking about the journaling pretty soon here. Now, the routine specifics may change based off of personal schedule, availability, personality, all the above. What I gave you here was a routine that I used for quite a while. That was my routine day in and day out. Homework the night before, narrow that watch list down and, just go from there. That might work very well for you. You might have something different. Whichever way, just make sure you have a routine, follow your plan while in the trade, and then document the trade as well. All right, now I've talked about documenting the trade multiple times here. So we're going to move on to the next habit, and that is using a trading journal. We simply just want to track our trades. Why? This is so that we can learn both from our mistakes and our successes. If we haven't tracked anything, if we don't know what is working or what isn't working, how are we going to improve? How are we going to get better? So it's simply to learn, simply to get better. Now, there are several different ways that we can do a trading journal. We can use Excel. I used a spreadsheet for a while. I still have several spreadsheets that I'll use. And so you can get as in depth or as simple as you want with a spreadsheet. You can even enter in formulas and all that if you're, big into Excel, and it can do all kinds of calculations for better tracking and analyzation. One that I found very creative was an idea that Ben Russell actually came up with. He would start an email chain. So he would enter a trade. He would screenshot a couple things. Maybe he would screenshot the chart. Maybe he would screenshot the options chain or something like that. And then he would go ahead and just email those screenshots to himself, just with some shorthand notes on that trade, basically his trading plan. And as that trade progressed, he would email himself again within that same thread. And then when that trade was complete, he would have several different emails that he had sent to himself based off of how he managed it. And he would go ahead and just save that whole email thread in a folder, previous trades or whatever the case may be. You could have a folder for successful trades or a folder for, expenses, whatever the case may be. So that could be something to consider as well. Yeah, John, I see your message there. Email method is great for sharing trades with coaches. Yes, exactly. That's a really good point. It can be a little harder sometimes to try and send over an Excel sheet, but you want to go ahead and get some analyzation on a trade that either worked or didn't work, whatever. Just forward that email chain to the coaches. Boom, there you go. So that's great. I'm really glad that you brought that one up. Charts by TRADEway journal. We're going to look at this right now because the Charts by TRADEway platform actually has the ability to go ahead and capture these trades for you. And it has an entire journaling section. I know many of you guys are familiar with this, but for those of you that aren't, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to look at that real quick here. Okay, good. I think you guys are seeing my Charts by TRADEway screen now. You're all familiar here. We're looking at the chart. You're coming up, and at the top right here, portfolio, you just come down to journal. Now, I have the TRADEway paper trading account pulled up right now. This is the account that I just end up throwing some random trades on in webinars or whatever the case may be to work through trades with students during webinars, showing which buttons to push and whatnot. But you can see here's all these trades that are logged in there. There's a ton of them. It just logs automatically. In fact, TRADEway paper trading, right here, you can see where it says auto journal this account. Always want to make sure that that is clicked to being on, auto journal this account. So it'll automatically put all these trades in here for you. So you can just see a whole list of trades. You can see different statistics here, what is working, what isn't working. There's graphs. We could do a whole webinar on this right here. I'm not going to do that all right now. I just want to show you guys the power that is in here, and this automatically journals this for you. You could also do a combination of the charts by TRADEway journaling and email and or Excel, however you want to do it. Journaling is crucial though. Journaling is one of the big habits that professional traders have. The next one we want to talk about is to favor what works. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, simply, we're going to use our trading journal to figure out what is working and what isn't, right? This is the whole reason why we have the trading journal. And then this is going to sound real simple, but believe me, this is harder to do than what it sounds. We're going to do more of what is working and less of what isn't working. I mean, imagine how much better your trading could be if you just cut out or did less of what isn't working, right? It could make a really big difference in your trading. Now, sometimes we look at something and like, oh man, that's just not working. Well, it could be that a whole lot of what you're doing in that trade is working well, but there's just a small part of it that isn't. Maybe you're doing credit spreads. Credit spreads are a great strategy. Maybe you're doing them at the right time. Maybe your buy point is great. Maybe your management is, maybe that one could get a little bit better, right? Maybe we're taking too aggressive of credit spreads, and we don't have a really good way of managing that. So that doesn't mean that the entire strategy needs to be thrown out. That doesn't mean that our buy point is bad. That doesn't mean that our market analyzation is bad. Maybe we just need to give a little bit more buffer on the credit spread. Maybe we need to change up how we're managing that credit spread. And so this is one of those things where trading journals can help figure that out as well. And so favor what works. Well, if you have something that isn't working, try and tweak it. And, go back and paper trade, do some historical trades, and see what you can adjust and journal those as well, so that you can go ahead and figure out what is working. So there you go. Maybe your strategy simply needs to be tweaked. Don't forget about market tone either. Keep in mind, guys, right now we're in a bear market. If we go ahead and look at the overall market right now, and we go, oh man, bullish trades, they just don't work. Bull puts are not working, or bull call debit spreads just not working. Well, we need to keep market tone in mind as well, because all of those bullish strategies worked quite well last year. 2021, market was quite consistent. I'll say the market tone of what the overall market was in the S&P was quite consistent. The news portion of the market tone was challenging. But we just can't throw out bullish trades because they're not working today. It's a whole different market right now. So we just want to make sure we're not, comparing apples and oranges. The next one we're going to go through here, I know we're moving through this pretty quickly, guys, but I want to go ahead and give you guys plenty of time for questions at the end here. So go ahead and throw any questions you have in the Q&A as well. So we'll have some time at the end to go over questions you have. The next habit that pros do, they learn new strategies and they test new strategies as well. Okay, as traders, we always want to be continually learning. All right, the day that you stop learning is really the day that you should stop trading. All right, markets, they change and we need to as well. Some patterns are going to stop working consistently, and then some new patterns are going to be developed. They're just going to develop as the markets change, as people change, as viewpoints change. And so we need to continually be learning. If we have more tools, then we have the potential to accomplish more. If you were only a step one trader, then this market, this whole year would have been very challenging, right? Because you could only trade to the upside. But all of a sudden you add in step two, and now you have some more tools, and now you can trade to the downside, and there's opportunity for you this year. So the more tools you have, the more that you are able to look at the market and trade different patterns that you're seeing, and the more that you could get accomplished, regardless of what the market is doing. So professional traders are always learning more. test out new strategies as well. Just because you learn a new strategy, doesn't mean, oh, that's great. I saw that. I went through that course. I'm ready to go with it. You got to test it out. You got to learn that strategy, get familiar with how it works. You got to build competency in that strategy through back testing and live paper trading. You got to come up with your own management plan. Now, you could kind of take the plan that we lay out there and use that or adjust it however needed. Journal and back test. Journal your back testing and paper trading. This goes back to figuring out what is working and what isn't working, right? So we want to journal all that paper trading, all the back testing. Go ahead and write that down and figure out what is working, what isn't working. And then, make the strategy and your management plan earn your trust. This is a big one here, guys. I want to take a second on this one right here. You need that strategy and your management plan to earn your trust, because you might have a good strategy and you might have a good management plan, but you might go into the market and take 2-3 losses in a row, expenses in a row, and all of a sudden you're like, this isn't working. But you never back tested it. You never paper traded enough to actually figure out if it is working or if you just hit an unlucky streak. Those happen. That's part of trading. Okay, so we need to paper trade the strategy enough to make it earn our trust. If we don't trust the strategy or the plan, then your emotions can take over and you may abandon the plan or strategy altogether. So this is a really big one here. This kind of hit me in a different way when I thought about this. As like, wow, okay, I actually need to learn how to trust that strategy and trust that management plan. And you're only going to get to that place of trust through ample back testing and paper trading. That's how you're going to get there. All right. The final habit that we're going to look at this morning of professional traders is to be your own trader. Okay, what do I mean by this? Well, I don't want you to blindly follow the analysts or the news, right? The news, they are there for, it's really an entertainment industry. Let's be real, right? They're there to try and get ratings and all this stuff. And so they're going to say whatever they need to say to get people watching their show. And it doesn't really matter if it's accurate information or not. You guys know this, right? So this is why we don't want to necessarily follow the news or the analysts that are, reporting on the news. They're just not the most trustworthy. We want to be wary of the hot tip. Same kind of thing here, right? We want to make sure that the hot tip that we get from someone or that we see online, that we just want to be wary of that, because oftentimes there's ulterior motives in there. I was watching a YouTube video that Mark Douglas was doing on one of the courses that he was teaching. You got his books, Disciplined Trader, Trading in the Zone. Those are great books as well. But there's also YouTube videos where he basically walks through a lot of those books and courses. I was watching one of those that he was doing. He was talking about this guy who was, giving the hot tip on the news, actually. And he was telling everyone, oh, this thing is going to the moon. Go ahead and buy this. And come to find out, this same guy actually had sell orders for that same stock he was pumping up. So it can be very deceptive. So we want to go ahead and be wary about the hot tip. You also want to go ahead and just be careful about following friends' trading advice. Now you may have friends within the TRADEway system who maybe have been a part of it longer, and they might have some good advice for you. I know we got several of our TRADEway friends, family who are posting in the community pages, and that's great and all. But what I'm really getting at is, that person at the gym or that person at work or whatever who sounds like they're very knowledgeable, but maybe they're not all that knowledgeable, and they think, oh, this for sure is going to happen, or that's going to happen. We just, sometimes talk is just talk, right? Sometimes that's all it is. There's not really much more to it oftentimes. So we just want to be wary of that. Following the study groups can be great at first, when you're learning and developing your own system, but we don't want it to stop there. We want you to continue learning how to develop your own system. That's really the key right there. So when you're new, it's okay to just, maybe your watch list is just from the study groups, what happens on the Mondays, and what you're seeing there. And that's a good place to start. But eventually through your development of your own system, you want to be able to find some of those stocks on your own. I'll tell you one thing that really was encouraging for me when I was new. I would be going through my whole, system and looking for the stocks that I want on Sundays. On the weekend, I would do a big homework, an hour or two of just going through charts and finding some patterns that I really liked. And when I got to the point where several of those patterns were the same pretty patterns that the coaches were pulling up, that Jared was pulling up on the study groups, that was very encouraging to me. It's like, okay, I'm onto something now. I'm kind of finding the right things. So that was kind of my progression from just grabbing what was said on study groups to developing my own system. And then I was able to participate better in the study groups too, and say, hey, Jared, what about this pattern? And, he might say, hey, that's a great one. We should add that to the list. Or maybe I get to learn something like, well, no, I missed that. Maybe it was earnings or whatever the case may be. So we want to go ahead and be our own trader, right? Have our own process, have our own ideas. We can take other people's strategies, ideas, systems, plans, and customize it to what we need. That's okay. We can see what they're doing and then just change it to fit our personality, our lifestyle, our, whatever the case may be, to work for us. And once we do that, it is our trading system, right? And we need to be able to take responsibility for our own trading. Guys, if we can't take responsibility for our own trading, then we cannot improve as traders, because it was never our fault to begin with, right? And if we don't improve, then nothing will change. Let me say that again. If we can't take responsibility, then we cannot improve, because it was never our fault. If we don't improve, then nothing will change. I think we're all on here today because we want to learn something, right? We want to get better. We want to learn more. We want to, so what I'm really trying to get at here is, if we would just accept the fact that we need to take responsibility for all of our own actions, all of our own trading, that is the first step to being able to essentially get to improvement, to where things will change. Billy says he agrees. That's great. Glad. Now that point right there, frankly, that could be an entire lesson on its own, right? We could take a whole topical workshop webinar and just do it on taking responsibility of our trading. And we're not going to do that here today, but anyway, just that, I thought that was a very important one to mention. All right, guys, here's some action items we got now. And I lost all my notes. Stand by. All right, so some action items for you. I want you to write down your trading routine. Now, this can change. This absolutely can change. And it probably will change as you go. And maybe, I don't know, say a couple of years down the line, maybe you get a different job and things have to adjust. That's perfectly okay, right? But write down what your starting trading routine is going to be for now. And then commit to using a trading journal. I'm going to drop a link in the chat for you guys here. If you don't have charts by TRADEway yet. Oh, Misty beat me to it. Well, thank you, Misty. I appreciate that. I was half a second behind you there. If you don't have charts by TRADEway yet, you can use that link that Misty dropped in the chat right there. It's got all kinds of information. It's got the pricing if you need that as well. But again, that's a fantastic way to have a trading journal as well. The trading journal actually is one of the most powerful parts of that whole platform. And some of you guys have heard me say this before, but in case you haven't, I'll say it again. Rand Smashek, who created Charts by TRADEway, he's a longtime trader. He's got, over 25, maybe in over 30 years by this point of trading experience professionally, right? He knows his stuff. He's a really good trader. He's done very well trading. He created this platform, Charts by TRADEway, and the journaling section he created specifically, it was meant to be specifically for newer traders. He wanted people that were starting out and learning to be able to use that trading journal to look back and see what is working, what isn't, so they could improve as traders. What he did not expect was that he himself would become a better trader. And as he's using his own platform, his own program to try and learn it and see what he can do better in it and everything, he's placing his trades, he's journaling his trades, and he's looking back and he's looking at his historical trades and going, that one strategy that used to work really well and I have always loved just is not performing as I thought it was. And he made adjustments in his own trading. 25-year professional improving his trading simply by looking at the trading journal and Charts by TRADEway. You have that available to you as well. So if you don't, then click that link that Misty dropped in there. Next action item we want to look at or write down here, analyze the past trades regularly. This kind of goes hand in hand with that trading journal, right? Because we want to use the trading journal and then we want to go back regularly and analyze past trades. Some people do this annually. I believe David Mitchell will use some of that time between Thanksgiving and Christmas time, somewhere in there coming up here, to just pause trading altogether, spend some time with family, but also look back on trades of the last year and see what can be done better, what needs to change. If you're newer, you probably don't want to wait a year, maybe do this every month, look at your trades. Okay, I did 15 trades this month. Look back on them. What is working? What isn't working? What could be improved on? Set aside time for learning and testing new strategies. Guys, for me personally, I actually do love jumping in and trying out new management techniques on strategies. But I have to be strategic about when I do this, right? I can't just do this in the middle of the day. Things are too busy. It's going to have to be on a weekend for me. I can't do this when the market is open. That's just too stressful. It's going to have to be, when the market's closed on an evening or most likely a weekend. And then I can just hash some things out and figure out what is a good management plan for a specific strategy that I want to try. And, I'll back test it. And if I like the numbers on the back testing, then I'm going to be like, okay, now I'm going to move this to the paper trading stage, paper trade it for several weeks. And then I might try it with small money. So, but whatever the case is, we need to set aside time for learning and testing new strategies. And then again, commit to being your own trader. And this comes back down again to the whole, we need to take responsibility of our own trading. We can't just be following someone else the whole time, because that won't work. Let's say you found some awesome newsletter, right? And you're like, oh, I'm just going to follow what they say the whole time. And let's say it even works. You're profitable. You're just doing everything they say. That's still not being your own trader. And then what happens if that newsletter goes out of business sometime, or they just discontinue it, or whatever the case may be? What are you going to do then? You're not your own trader. You're back to ground zero. So we want to commit to being our own trader. All right, guys, I'm going to leave these action items up on the screen here for you so you can write them down. Feel free to screenshot this as well if you need to as well. I've got a few questions in the Q&A here, so I'm going to start working on those here. Feel free to throw more in there as well. Elizabeth is asking, do I know where they archive study group webinars? Hey, that's a good question. If you need the recordings for the study groups, go ahead and email support@tradeway.com. I'll type it in the chat here, support@tradeway.com. So email support@tradeway.com if you need the archives for the study groups. I know not everyone is able to watch the live study groups on the Monday nights. So the recordings are usually able to be available sometime Tuesday, and then it's still worth watching those. And if you're one that's like, oh man, I just don't have a whole lot of time, hey, double speed that thing, right? You can click on that. You can go, double the speed through the webinars, and that'll work as well. So whichever way, make sure you're able to make good use of that, especially when you're new and starting out. All right, John's saying that he uses TradeWay and Thinkorswim very well, but the journaling feature for charts totally sold me on the platform. That's good, John. I like that. Absolutely. The journaling part, TradeWay does, I'm sorry, well, they do too. Both TradeWay and Thinkorswim, they do log the trades. You can look at, a history, but it's almost just like a built-in spreadsheet that is frankly a little harder to use for me, at least. The journaling part in Charts by TRADEway is really state of the art. We really should do, a webinar just on the journaling section at some point, because it is just like what you said, there's innumerable advantages to that. So thanks for that, John. Elizabeth asking, please provide examples of being your own trader. Yeah, again, it just kind of goes back to, we want to have our own system, really, right? We don't want to just take someone else's word for something. We don't want to follow the hot tip on the news. We want to have our own system that we use to find trades. And this can go back to the very first example I brought up with, writing, like having your own trading routine. So if my trading routine is on the weekends, for example, I'm going to go ahead and spend an hour or two and look through all the David and Mitchell watch list tickers. And I'm going to take anything that's pretty and looks like it could be tradable that week. I'm going to take those and I'm going to put them on a separate trigger watch list. Move all those over, and now maybe I've got 20 or so that I'm looking at. And every day of that week, now I'm going to go ahead and look through that trigger watch list and see what looks good. And maybe something breaks down and I kick it off the list. But whatever the case is, I have my own process that I'm using, that I'm working through. Yeah, Elizabeth, what works according to your schedule? I can tell you what I used to do, but that might not work for someone else. Frankly, I'm going to be real honest with you guys right now. I'm kind of in that stage right now, again, where I'm trying to find my new trading routine. Things have gotten so busy, I haven't been able to trade as much as I would like to. So I'm looking for a new trading routine that matches up and works with the busy schedule that I have right now. So it's a continual process, right? And so we want to make sure that we are our own trader, because if we try and be someone else, if we try and follow the other person exactly, or just follow the other tips, it's just usually not going to work out very well for us. And in a way, that comes back to the responsibility thing, right? If we just follow someone else all the time, then when the trades don't work out for us, when things aren't going our way, then we don't blame ourselves, right? Oh, that guy was wrong. Oh, that newsletter was wrong. The news led me astray. Putin did this or that, or the whatever, it can get political too. And all of a sudden we're in the position where we're not taking responsibility for our own trades. That's not a good place to be, right? No one forced us to push the buttons to get into a trade or to manage it in a specific way. No one forced us to do that. We did that on our own. So we need to take responsibility for that on our own as well. That's how we're going to learn. That's how we're going to improve. That's how we're going to get better. So being our own trader, again, that's a big one right there. That could be a whole lesson in its own. Thanks for that, Elizabeth. All right, guys, if you have any final questions, throw those in the Q&A. I'm going to sift through the chat real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. Billy's saying, haven't found the David Mitchell watch list. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm glad I sifted through. Let's pull up charts real quick again. I want to show you this because we've had to change the name a couple times. All right, here we go. You're seeing charts by TRADEway again. And this is where most people are familiar with. We got the chart in front of us. Where are the David Mitchell watch lists? Let's come up here to the watch tab. And then we're going to go ahead and click down here, and on the right where it says system, here are the David Mitchell watch lists. We got stocks, options, spreads, covered calls. Essentially works step 1, step 2, step 3 and 4, and then step 4. Now, we can't call them like David Mitchell, best stocks watch list, because there's only a certain amount of room that we have in this box. So we actually had to change the name a couple of times in there. But this options list, some of you guys remember the A+ watch list. This is the A+ watch list. We just renamed it, right? So these are vetted for fundamentals, and we do that in a specific way through the Investors Business Daily website. And this is updated monthly. It was updated recently here. So there you go. Stocks, options, spreads, cover calls. That is the David Mitchell watch list. Is charts by TRADEway and TRADEway the same? Hey, that's a really good question. It is not. Charts by TRADEway is our platform that we do our training from. You can do your trading as well, all your research. TRADEway is simply the broker that we recommend. And this is an account that you'll set up with TRADEway, and you can put money in there and then do your real trades. One of the reasons we love TRADEway is that they link to charts by TRADEway. So that's one of the reasons. We're not going to get into all of that right now. We do have tutorials on that and other trainings on that, but charts by TRADEway is the platform. TRADEway is the broker. All right, Tracy, you're saying that you've got charts by TRADEway, but your screen does not look like this. Yeah, feel free to send in some screenshots to support@TRADEway. And we can look at that. It might just be some settings. You can customize this however you want. Linda, yeah. TD Ameritrade does link into charts as well. So you can do that as well. All right. Ruben's asking. Oh no, he's not. There's no question. They're just saying that he liked it. Good. I'm glad, Ruben. All right. Elizabeth's asking, can TD Ameritrade paper trading link to charts? Oh, that's a good question. No, you can do a real TD Ameritrade account, link that into charts. As far as paper trading goes, let's see here. I usually just use TRADEway Virtual. You could do Choice Trade Virtual as well. Either one really works. So that's what I use there as well. Is TASEWorks linked to charts yet? Not yet. That is still in the process. I wish that was a quick process, but apparently that's like a months-long process. That was started several months ago. There has been more communication back and forth. It's kind of like communication between us and TASEWorks and iVest. So it's kind of all around and trying to push that ball forward there. But yeah. John, so if you go ahead to answer your question, John, instead of my specific email for charts related questions, just send them to support@tradeway.com. Anything that is charts related, they just put in my little folder queue thing or whatever. So yeah, Missy, thanks for putting that in there. So John, it's pretty much just as good as emailing me directly, just support@TRADEway, because anything that is charts related, they just send to me and I just handle them all. So yeah, go ahead and do that. All right. Thanks, guys. Well, I really appreciate it. We're going to be wrapping this one up today. But again, support at TRADEway.com if you have any questions. And I'll put this link in here one last time if you guys need it again for Charts by TRADEway. So thanks again for being on. I hope you can use those action items that we talked about in the webinar today, because I really think developing those habits and being consistent about those will help you in the long run. And it's a journey. It's a process. It's going to take a while to get it all. But that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you with that. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.